Hi, it's Lynda with Tyrrell County Public Library, and we're in for another episode of Cooking with the Library. Today I decided to go through some of the books at the library and see if I could find something that resonated with me. And actually I have a loved one who battles diabetes, so I grabbed some diabetes cookbooks off of the shelf and decided that I was going to try and find a recipe that I could work with for my mom, who suffers from diabetes. So in my search, I found a lot of recipes that were kind of interesting, but not enough that really got me excited. So I took one of their recipes I found and I created my own aspect of it. So I was inspired by their recipe. So let's get cooking. I'm going to show you a quick shot of what is going to be a part of our ingredients, what my swap outs were, and then I will start the process. Thank you again for joining me. Let's get started. What we're making today is a confetti rice salad. So the first thing we need to do is get some water and broth going in a large saucepan. Now, I don't like to buy broth in the store. I try and whittle away a little bit of time during the weekend, and I make my own broth. It's a vegetable broth. They're asking for a chicken broth here. I choose to go vegetable. What I do is I make a big pot of broth. I call it a bouillon, and then I put it in ice cube trays, and then I freeze it and pop it out and put it in this lovely bag, and then every time I need broth I just pull a cube. Each cube is for a cup. So that's where we're starting with. I have I have 3 cubes in here that I've already done, and I have a cup of water in here that I have already pulled together. So I am going to mix this up just to make sure nothing has settled to the bottom, and I am going to put it in with the water. And now I am going to take a cup of rice, long grain white rice. Now typically rice is not something that you want to use if you have diabetes. It converts way too quickly over to a starch. You need something that's long lasting. So this is pretty much the only thing that I'm keeping from the original recipe. Well, I'm doing other things, but I'm just making it a little bit healthier. So now I'm going to put a cup of rice in, and I'm going to again mix it up so it gets completely lost in there. And now I'm going to turn this on to high, bring it to a boil. Sorry you're not seeing this because it's behind you. Put the lid on, and while that's going, I'm going to get started on the other stuff. So what we're going to do next is we're going to chop up a orange pepper. Now originally the recipe called for a carrot. That's another really sweet vegetable, so I'm kind of steering away from that and going with the pepper instead. I figured those of us who use orange carrots, it's about the same thing, so why not just do that? I'm having some problems here cutting this pepper. Sorry about that. Usually I'm pretty good with that. All right. So I am going to chop it, get rid of these seeds. All my stuff was washed ahead of time. I always try to rinse everything before I get started here with you guys. So I'm going to chop some pepper. I'm sure you're not going to want to see me chop pepper the whole time, so I'm going to pause this and I'm going to come back to you once it's all chopped. Okay, so next what we're going to do is we're going to chop up a couple of tomatoes. They say to de-seed them. However, when you're using Roma tomatoes, which I call tomato sauce tomatoes, they usually don't have any real, there's a little bit, but you can just get rid of that. So I'm going to chop up 2 of these and stick them in that little bowl there. Well, what we're going to be doing is tossing everything into, see, now there's some seeds. Into the sink you go. We're going to toss everything into the bowl when we mix it. So I'm just keeping a bunch of little bowls going so we can just keep track of everything. That's one tomato. And here's another one. Ooh, this one's got more seeds. We'll be squishing these out. I'm not going to take that pulpy middle. I'm going to leave that here on the cutting board. Off to the sides you go. All right. Pulpy center, off to the side you go. Okay, I see some pulp. Out you come. All right, give me a minute to rinse my hands real quick. And next I'm going to chop up some celery. Now, for us, we never eat the outer edges of the celery. They're always way too bitter. So we're going to take all the center ones. Now, it called for a half a cup of carrots, which that's about a half a cup of peppers. This little seed just wants to talk to me. And it also called for a it did not call for celery. I just decided celery is very high in fiber, which is really good. So I am including that in with this recipe. So I am taking all, I don't know, about 2 stalks of celery, and I'm just going to chop it. Oops, that little one got away from me. Okay, next we are going to do about 1/3 of a cup of parsley. Flat leaf or curly, your call. I have 1/3 of a cup measuring there, so I am going to just fill that up as I'm chopping this and see when I'm there. Parsley is fabulous for digestion. So I like to put parsley in as much stuff as I can. Also helps with bad breath. Just saying. All right, maybe just a little bit more. Okay, 1/3 of a cup. That works. All right, give me a minute to rinse my hands real quick, and I'm also going to open this can of garbanzo beans. There we go. Now, you can put cooked chicken breast in there, low salt on your seasoning if possible. Give me a minute to drain this here. I am choosing garbanzo beans. We are a meat-free family. So we have garbanzo beans draining now. Okay. The other thing it asks for is some green onions. Actually, before I do the green onions, I like to do spinach in everything. That's me. And I know I've got a couple co-workers that are probably snickering right now at the fact that I am putting spinach in this dish. for when they eat at my house. They get to have an overwhelming amount of spinach in everything they do. So I'm probably going to do about a half a cup of spinach. Don't mind me while I pick off all the stems. That's just a habit of mine when I cook. All the stems need to come off. And what I'm going to do with this spinach is I am going to ribbon it. So you're not getting big pieces of spinach, which is no fun for those who do not like spinach. It's kind of like ribbons in confetti. We're going to be hiding bits and pieces of it throughout our rice salad. So to confetti it, what I do, or to ribbon it, is I just stack them all up and I do thin little lines. And I know I'm not using the proper stance for cutting stuff, but this has worked for me for so many years. And we're going to do one more of that size stack. The rice is going right now. So I'm kind of doing all this while that is cooking through. So all we're really going to be doing is mixing all of this together as the rice finishes up. The other thing that I'm going to suggest is that in making this can actually be a main course because of the protein with the beans or the chicken. But you can also do it just as a side dish. And because there is no mayo in it and no meats, you can literally take this on a picnic with you and have it in a cooler just to snack on. It's a good side dish. It can be a good main dish depending on what else you're serving. I think that's about the same size. We'll grab the last of these leaves. That one looks a little funky. I'm not going to include that one. All right, so again, just cutting it thin. All right, that's all my spinach I'm going to use in there. That little piece got away from me too. Okay, so the other thing they asked for is to juice a lemon. So I had gotten this juicer out in California many, many moons ago for $1. This is a hello to all my California friends that I haven't seen in far too long, but I just juiced a lemon here. We need 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So the last thing I need to cut is some green onion. So I'm going to take the end off, and I'm going to take that part off. And you really need to put in the amount of onion that you would like. For me, I'm not a big uncooked onion fan. It just doesn't sit well with my digestive tract. But I wanted you to see that it could be done and tossed in here. So I'm just going to be putting in a little bit for my family. We're a big cooked onion fan. We do everything cooked. There's a time when my child only liked raw food. Now we're only cooked food. All right, so that's going to be about enough for us. But the recipe, whoops, that's a piece of pepper. The recipe calls for about 1/3 cup of sliced green onions and 1/3 cup of fresh parsley. So I know I'm going way less on the onions, but that's what works for us. All right, I'm going to check the rice real quick. That looks about done. So I am going to shut off the heat on it. And our next step, I'm going to let that cool for a minute. Can you see? Yeah, it needs to cool for a little bit. We're going to come back when it's cooled and we will start putting everything together. Okay, I've taken the rice out. It is cooled. I'm going to mix this up a little bit. And now what we are going to do is we are going to add 1/4 cup of lemon juice. So here's our 1/4 cup. Pour that in. I had juiced the lemon earlier. Okay. So a 1/4 cup of lemon juice, a tablespoon of olive oil, and we're going to put the tomatoes in. And we're going to mix that up. Lemon juice to make it fresh. A little vitamin C also. All right. Okay. And now we are going to add the orange peppers. The spinach, some celery, I'm gonna toss in the parsley, and then it calls for 3/4 of a cup of ham, the recipe did, but I chose again to go with 2. Let's add a few more in there. 3. Okay, I chose to use the garbanzo beans. Okay, does that look like confetti to you guys? Looks like confetti to me. And then the last thing to add in is the onion. That looks really pretty. Actually smells pretty good too. The beauty of making your own broth is you can control the sodium. And that's one of the reasons why I do make broth, my bouillon cubes, every single week, or twice, every other week, sorry. Now I'm going to sprinkle some onions on top. You rinse my hands real quick. So with using homemade broth, you can control your salt levels. And that's something that is really important for me and the people I love, keeping that sodium down. Using canned goods, there's always a lot of sodium in there. So you want to try to keep that in check as much as possible. It's really bad for diabetes. Oh, the recipe also calls for 1/3 of a cup of Parmesan. Now, I love Parmesan, don't get me wrong, but I kind of think 1/3 of a cup for this amount is a lot. I'm probably just going to sprinkle some on and then mix it in. And that will work for us. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sue Griffin works, she's an RN, she's a diabetes educator at the Columbia Medical Center. And if you are a patient at the medical center, you can always call her for recipe ideas or to talk to her about foods that work for diabetes. For those who are not a member or not a patient there, you might want to look into it. Sue is a fabulous resource. Below you will see her name, the medical center, and the phone number that you can contact her directly. I got this recipe out of Delicious Ways to Control Diabetes cookbook at the library. Please come into the library and check out what we have to offer in the way of cookbooks. And also please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It is in a link down below. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at Tyrrell County Public Library. And please like and subscribe also to our Facebook page so you can see what other fun things we have going. Thank you so much for staying with me in my kitchen today while we cooked up this confetti rice salad from our diabetes book, one of our diabetes cookbooks. And again, it is inspired by the cookbook, but I definitely did not follow the recipe like they said. But this smells really good and I'm looking forward to eating. So I'm cutting off this video now and I will catch up with you next month when we have another Cooking with the Library episode. Have a great week.